guys, it's Quana back again with another review. Hope you guys are doing awesome. So today I sat down and binge watched all 8 episodes of the new Hulu dramedy Unprisoned, starring Kerry Washington and Delroy Lindo. And I'm going to tell you whether or not you should check out this father and daughter dramedy duo centered around a man who is getting released from prison after 17 years and the impact this has on his daughter and her life. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the show, about the pacing of the show, about the things I liked about the show, and perhaps some things I didn't like about the show. But first and foremost, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below so we can keep growing over here and I can keep bringing you more content. All right, so listen, Unprisoned. I saw Kerry Washington posting stills from this on Instagram about a month or so ago, as well as seeing her posting recording of the show way back, like a couple of months back, on her TikTok account. And so I knew that this show was in the works. I didn't know that Delroy Lindo, who you might remember from Crooklyn or Romeo Must Die, I believe he also starred in The Good Wife, or at least was on several episodes of The Good Wife. And he is one of my favorite older actors in Hollywood. He has so much charisma, and you really feel that from him on the screen and in this show. He is definitely my favorite character. Kerry Washington plays his daughter, Paige Alexander, who is a marriage and family, I guess you would say, marriage and family therapist with a pretty significant Instagram following, who has been tasked with like getting her father released from prison and the impact that that's going to have on her life, with dealing with the reconciliation of this father who's been in and out of her life with various prison stints since she was 3 years old. She's also a single mother raising her son Phineas, who is a biracial teenager dealing with his own search for identity. And her life, although she projects it as being picture perfect, is far from it. It's extremely messy, and we get to journey as these two unpack generational trauma that comes from having a parent who has been in prison. I thought that Delroy Lindo shined as Edwin. He was extremely likable. He portrays this man who's been in prison due to his own wrong choices in life, but really desires to start over, to make amends, and to be involved in his daughter and his grandson's life. And he really struggles with the ways in which you navigate out of the system and how you're supposed to navigate into a legal and law-abiding citizen life in the midst of having a criminal background. Kerry Washington's character is sort of all over the place because she's got this Instagram following and she's this very serious therapist, but her life is extremely messy. We find out from the gate that she has a very messy love life. She's never really been successful in any of her relationships due to her severe daddy issues that she is struggling to unpack along the way. The show's format is that we follow through the lens of Kerry Washington's character, although we divert from that and we do get to see Edwin's character, played by Delroy Lindo, in some moments where Kerry Washington's character wouldn't be privy to the things that are going on with him. It also uses a little bit of a fourth wall break and also uses her subconscious that manifests itself in her child format, which is a little disarming because you see this young child cussing and saying things in the way that an adult would, and those are the kind of comedic moments that this show brings, the levity that the show brings. I will say that watching the show, you really want to know what's going to happen with Edwin's character, whether he's going to be successful in righting his wrongs and whether he's going to find himself on the right path. But the show really doesn't find its legs until around episode 5 or 6, where we start dealing with much heavier issues like generational trauma, like the Black migration out of the South due to threats of violence against them, and how that violence that was perpetuated against Black people in the South manifests itself in cycles of violence and cycles of criminalization that exist today, and how those cycles perpetuate themselves in generational trauma. Whether or not the person is a law-abiding citizen, it still shows up in their life. There are a ton of other characters as well. One of my favorites is the character of Mal, who is Edwin's parole officer, played by Marquis Richardson. Dear White People, he played the character of Reggie. He's extremely likable, and I think his character is so important for the show because although Edwin's character is so very charismatic and he is very likable, you are portraying this black man who is coming out of the prison system, and it's nice to see another black male on the show kind of counteract what could be seen as very negative stereotypes that the show could be perpetuating, but they're very mindful to have that balance. One of the things about the show that was kind of startling, because I hadn't seen a whole lot from the trailers in regards to the character of Paige and her family and her life, is that Paige portrays a character who never has dated a black man before and struggles with her own racial identity. The show only hints at this a little bit. It manifests itself much more in her biracial son, Finn, or Phineas, who really struggles with that. We don't get to know much about Phineas's character except through his relationship with his grandfather. We don't get a chance to see a whole lot of disclosure between him and the character of Paige. And I feel like that was a part that was missing from the show because she is a marriage and family counselor. We don't really see her interacting with her son as much as one would expect. But I thought that the show was pretty enjoyable. Has a good premise. It leaves you with the cliffhanger, which is so dangerous in 2023 because we know that shows don't get renewed as often, but Hulu does a better job than most with renewing their shows. So I have hope that this will at least be renewed for a second season. And I would say that I would give Unprisoned a B-. I think that it poses some really good conversation. Delroy Lindo's character of Edwin is extremely likable, extremely enjoyable to watch on screen. The show has some comedic moments, but it really struggles to find its legs. It needs to work out the kinks. I think part of the issue is that the show was created by Terry McMillan, and she is also the primary writer of the show. And I think that the show would be better served by having someone with a bit more of a comedic background. I will say that tonally, especially with episode 5 and 6, it feels a little like Blackish in a lot of ways, and oddly enough, that was my favorite episode, but I didn't care for those elements of the episode. I think once the show figures out what it wants to be, it'll be a much more enjoyable show. So I definitely think that you should give Unprisoned a watch, especially if you have about 4.5 hours of free time. But let me know down below in the comments if you plan on watching Unprisoned, if you are a Kerry Washington fan, or if you've enjoyed the work of Delroy Lindo in the past. Let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Toodles!